Okay, how do you hear us?
And let me see.
Ephraim, you hear us? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Got us at all?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're talking up here now.
You're talking up there? Okay.
Yeah. And so are other folks. Thank you, U.S. Navy vet. I apologize for losing everybody here. Can we somehow tell the other folks to come over here? So, because we have quite a few questions.
Yeah, so I'll send a link to this one over in that chat.
Okay, well, we'll give it a second. Thanks, folks, for coming over. We apologize for that. Have we had success? I'm going to answer that real quick. Secondary cases of migraine, secondary panic attacks, or secondary.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, migraines can be caused by quite a few different things. And we see that second to all kinds of psychic disabilities. You probably would need your psychiatrist or psychologist to write an opinion as far as how that can be caused by whatever psych disorder you have. But that's definitely something there. And if you have both those, that ends up being pretty bad, pretty tough coupling of disabilities.
Whenever I have a client that has any mental issues and also headaches or sleep apnea, I file for both of those as secondary to the mental problem. And with the literature that's out there, we haven't had any problem. I mean, of course, at the regional office, we may have a problem, but ultimately, usually we win on all those.
Okay, so what we were going to do, or what we're trying to do this time, is try to be a little more organized, because I usually get to about half the questions. First of all, this is Carol Ponton. I tried to introduce her before, and obviously that did not work. My partner, who's an expert in VA law. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to try to just break up and have a specific topic we discuss with whatever questions we get. And then after that, I will discuss any other questions we didn't get to, just in kind of the random order we get them. But we're going to talk about TDIU, or unemployability, today. And just, we're going to look for those questions, and I'll ask Carol. She's got to leave, unfortunately, in about 20 minutes, but till that time, we're going to hopefully get to quite a few. So
we can go back over that question that we tried to start with.
I don't know that he's here yet, so I don't want to answer his question and him not be here. Okay, so Furryful, Scott from Maryland, question. VA sent me a form of 218940. What do I do? Fill it out? So the 8940, that's what we call it, is essentially the form you have to fill out to get unemployability benefits. Okay, it's not necessarily a new claim, meaning that if you already have a claim stream going for PTSD or migraines, like we saw earlier, it should be considered part of that claim. But to get the unemployability benefits, they want to know when you worked, when you last worked, how much money you were making, and all that. So yes, you do need to fill it out. There is a blog on our website that actually walks through piece by piece on this that I highly recommend going through. It's kind of, most of it's basic information, but there's some questions that I consider to be tricky.
Right. One of them is, why can't you work? Which service-connected problem keeps you from working? And it's really important that you think about that. Don't just list everything you can possibly think of. And particularly don't list things that are not service-connected or that you're not claiming as service-connected, because then the VA will come back and say, well, these non-service-connected problems are what keep you from working. So it's really important that you understand what they're looking for in the form, okay? Like Matt said, there's a great walkthrough on our site.
And Ephraim just put that up. There's a blog link to it. So if there's, again, I would go to it. It was the lady who wrote that in our office, I thought, did a very good job. So let's see what other issues that kind of relate to unemployability. We've got Carlos Santiago asked, I have a QTC exam for migraines and PTSD increase. Any advice?
Yes, I have definite advice. You need to, the VA has forms that they have all of these examiners complete. They're called DBQs, Disability Benefits Questionnaires. And they will tell you exactly what these examiners are going to ask you. And if you can get your hands up, they posted them back online. They were online, and then the VA took them down.
Yeah, Ephraim, we hit that too. It's on the VA website, the DBQs.
And you should look at those before you go. And then if you also have some way to look at the rating decision, then you'll know what's important in all those questions. So if you have a headache at least once a month that you take medicine for, that's only a 10% rating. But if these headaches require you to lie down on the couch, the recliner, because of how they affect you, that's a 30% rating. And the most important one is a 50% rating, which is the highest actual number rating they'll give you. And that's if these headaches would keep you from working. So I want you to think
Well, that's the thing. It's called if they cause economic loss.
Right.
Which is, what does that mean, right? I mean, that to me means you should be getting 100% rating through unemployability.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you need to realize that you think about how these headaches affect you. Do they make you sensitive to smells, sights, sounds, so that you have to be in a dark, quiet room? If you do, you certainly can't be working. Does it affect your ability to concentrate and think? You can't work if you can't concentrate or think. So these are important things for you to know before you go.
Right.
And I always suggest that you write down what you want them to know, because when people get an exam, sometimes they're just having questions fired at them and they just freeze, or they forget what they want to say. So it's important that you know what you want this examiner to hear from you.
Yeah, and I brought this up under our TDIU context, because if you have a psych disorder and you have migraines, I don't know what your ratings are, but I would bet there's a significant strain on your ability to work, ability to maintain a job. And if that's the case, you need both those ratings higher so that you can get up to unemployability.
Exactly.
All right, so Brian Sco, question 7. Currently at 90%, does your firm take TDIU cases? I will be quitting my job due to my service-connected depression, anxiety, and headaches. Thank you. So yes, Brian, we do take cases. We don't take all cases, unfortunately, because we get bombarded. But if
it looks like you're close enough that you may want to just file yourself and see if they approve it. Okay, but like I said, one thing that bothers us is when veterans have filled out the form and they haven't really paid any attention to that, and they put things down that hurt them. Like, the reason I stopped working is because I hurt my knee,
right,
which is not service connected, but the depression is. So you want to make sure that it's clear to the VA why you can't work and that it's service connected. And then it's important to also know that you have to be not working before you file this claim. If you're working, they're just immediately going to deny you. Now, by working, should we get into that? Is the guy back here?
I haven't seen him back here, but just real quick, Mr. Mo asked a question we should address at the beginning. What is TDIU? And he answered this. It's a total disability due to individual unemployability. Basically, right. I refer to it as the back door to getting 100%. Because if you can't work and it's due to VA disability benefits that you're receiving, then you receive 100% compensation and secondary benefits, even if you're only at 80% or 70%.
And it's the same thing. The only thing is you can't be working. But what does that mean financially? I think it's important that you know you can actually work, but you can't earn over. It's around $12,000 or $13,000 a year.
It's the poverty line for one person. It doesn't matter if you have a family.
And work is what you do and get paid for. It's not rental income. It's not dividends from stock. It's actual work that you perform. So that's important to realize. Some people may own rental property. That's not work unless your job is to rent these properties for somebody else and handle them for them. That would be a job. But if you own the property, money's coming in from rent, that's not working under the VA guidelines. Also, there are some exceptions, but I have to tell you, it's really hard to get those, and that's sheltered employment. The VA has some jobs that are considered sheltered, and they're easier to get than if you're working out in the private industry. The private industry, you'd have to show, and very strongly, that this person is keeping you, even though they would not replace you, they would not hire anybody else that has your limitations. They're doing it as a favor to you. That's hard to show, but it can be done.
Well, meaning the job is basically they created this bubble for you.
Right.
And when you leave, the bubble pops, and
right.
There's no one else there. And then also, I think you talked about shelter family. Families are pretty.
Yeah, sometimes if you are lucky enough to have a rich family and they are employing you, but they're saying it, I'm only hiring it because you're my son or you're my daughter.
Right.
And then you would probably have to get some pretty good statements from whoever the parent is or whoever your employer is to talk about what you're not able to do, the problems that you have. Like I said, those are hard. If you're not working, the unemployability just goes right to, does the service-connected problem keep you from working?
So we, one other question we just got, I think it was from Scott. Scott from Maryland. I'm rated at 50% for migraines, and I'm thinking this is why the VA sent me the 8940. This is where it gets tricky.
Yes.
Because for the VA regional office to award you, or even the BBA for the first time to award you unemployability benefits, you have to have a combined rating of 70 or a single disability that is 60. Now, the single disability, again, is tricky because it could be a combination of orthopedic problems. It could be a combination of something like diabetes problems. So there's, is that under the rating? It's, I'm trying to think. It's 38 CFR 4.16, and that lays out everything as far as requirements. Now,
well, so just so you understand, if you have a 60% rating, it can be from, you have diabetes, which caused you peripheral neuropathy, which caused you retinopathy, so you can't see very well, which may have caused you chronic kidney disease. So even though there are different ratings for each one of these, right, 20 for diabetes, 30 for chronic disease, you can combine them together. And if they make up 60% or more, then you're qualified. So it's not, that's why it's very difficult to understand sometimes. If you have a back problem and radiculopathy from both legs, you use those together and they would combine and give you the 60% rating. So even though they're coming from different ratings, they're all from the same problem. So then we get back to headaches, where the highest rating you can get is a 50%. So if you file, there's a special way that they evaluate ratings that are under this 70% for combined and 60% for one disability. And that's where they actually send the question up to the regional office in the Washington, D.C. area, and have people who are specialized in handling those cases. And they look to see, even if you don't meet the combined rating, are you disabled because of this disability that's service-connected?
So, and I just posted in here something, it's www.benefits.com, VA, blah, blah, blah. It says warm and books. If you go down there and click on 4.16, that is the rule on TDIU. And because what Carol just said, it's very complicated as far as what a 60 means, what a 70 means. But the big point, Scott, on a 50% rating is, I mean, to me, 50% rating on migraines, forget about it. For you to be able to maintain a job, I'm sure the days that you're doing well, you do well at work and you're impressive. But if you get to the point where you just can't maintain that work level, and you can't work, that would be a time to apply. But as Carol said, it's a long process. It goes all the way up to DC, and you're going to get denied.
You're going to get denied at DC.
And you could get denied at the board as well, because they don't like these claims.
They don't like them, but you're more likely to win at the board.
Right, right.
Especially if you have your doctor backing you up and going through all of the symptoms that you have to deal with and the frequency of the migraines. Okay. I also recommend that you get statements from spouses, family who have seen you laying down in a dark room, not able to move for days at a time. The one thing about the board that is not true at the regional office is they read these statements. They want to know not just what the doctor says, they want to know what the people around you say. And that can make a big difference in winning.
And, oh shoot, I was going to add something onto that, but I just forgot. My partner's the older one, but I don't want to have bad memory.
One thing I do want to say that I see the VA doing, which is infuriating, is you're entitled to unemployability when you are unable to work. Okay, so if you got a 70% rating for PTSD, and they didn't send you the form or tell you that you should apply for unemployability, and they knew you weren't working, you could be entitled to benefits all the way back there. Just because you only filed a claim for TDIU on January 1st this year doesn't mean that that's the only date you can get benefits. You can go back farther. And I find the VA is really good at giving you the date that you filed the claim and not looking back.
And the other thing we're seeing on that is with this new appeals management back system, that they've put in place. We see a lot of times where a veteran will have a back claim, it'll be at 60% or 70%, and they'll file that IU form. Well, VA, let's say they file the IU form 2 years later. Well, VA will give them a date for IU that 2 years later when it really should go back to the back claim.
Exactly.
So they're taking a lot of money from these vets. That's tens of thousands of dollars that they're taking away if the vet doesn't appeal. So that's just something to be aware of. Let's see. I thought I saw another one here. Street Runez. My claim is at the higher level review, and I have seen the new April 2021 CMP exam. They diagnosed me with PTSD and checked my occupational and social impairment at 70 box. Haven't worked in 3 years. Will the rater offer TDIU? I mean, here's the thing. What's frustrating for us is that we prepare evidence, we put together solid claims, and it is, in a way, it's Russian roulette on what kind of rater you get. Is it somebody who cares? Is it somebody who reads the evidence? Is it somebody who understands the law? Or is it somebody who's looking just to push paper? So I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it looks like you have a strong case, and as Carol says, we don't win a lot of cases at the regional office. We tend to have harder cases, but we don't win cases fully, meaning we might get unemployability, but we don't get the right date, so we keep appealing. So if you get denied, that's that's part of the course.
I think rather than wait, I would go ahead and file the 8940 now.
Yes.
Why wait for them? They are, by law, if they know you're not working and you have a rating of 70%, they are supposed to ask you to file one, or if you want, they're supposed to include that 8940 form in the letter that they send you if they award you the 70%. Maybe they'll do it and maybe they won't do it, but I always think go ahead, don't wait for them, because for one thing, they may not give you benefits until the date that you file for it. So I'd go ahead and do that right away.
Okay. MC, we've got a rater has a duty to assist for TDIU. Whether they do it or not is another matter. If not, appeal the sucker. Oh, sorry, that was a comment on that one.
I agree.
All right, so Jacob, I'm not going to try VA-Accredited. Original claim 2008, received 70% in 2020, applied for TDIU shortly after it was granted. What should have been my effective date for the TDIU? My 2008 disability is the reason for the TDIU. So effective dates are hard across the board. I think they're even murkier when it comes to TDIU. This depends on have you consistently appealed that 2008 claim. That's the easiest way. If you have, and 2008 is the date, you should be fighting to get all the way back. The other way I look for is that within a year of each, well, let's say within the appeal period of each decision you get, so rating decision you get a year, SOC you get, I think, 60 days. Mm-hmm. If you filed new evidence within those time periods, you didn't even mean to, let's say you went to the VA and you checked on your PTSD and they talked to your doctor, that can actually get you back that far. That is a reg VA actually hated so much they just got rid of for any claims going forward, but that is 38 CFR 3.16B. If you'd write that down on there, I think folks could use that, but it's 38 CFR 3.156B. But that's a way to get back. That's a lot of times how we're able to, but it just all depends on where it was. I mean,
exactly. I think it's 2013 is when they changed the law.
Well, they changed the law on the exams in that one, I think, or on but they just changed the law with AMA on
this one.
Yeah.
But like Matt says, I go back and see if any evidence was in. Did you go to the VA and complain and your doctor said you were worse? Did you have to go in and be hospitalized? If any of those things happened during that time period, that year from when they gave you the rating, and it was done at a VA facility, or you sent the records in, that should reopen your claim.
Okay. I'm just looking, I don't see any other.
There's a good question about what qualifies you for permanent and total.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll qualify if you've already had 100% or IU. You can get permanent total in each. What would you say, Carol?
Well, unfortunately, it's the rater. I mean, I've seen some people giving permanent and total to 28-year-olds, and then for 75-year-olds, they still won't give it to them. Some raters just don't want to give it. If you have 100% and they feel you're not going to get better, they should give you permanent and total. But that doesn't mean they always do it. I would say 80% of the time, once you get 100% and you're not in your 20s or 30s, I think they normally will try and give it to you. But once again, it's the rater.
Yeah. And as far as what to do about that, I would consider having your doctor write a letter just saying, well, talk to him first before he puts ink to paper, but say, is this condition going to get better? Is it a static condition, meaning, one day you're going to wake up and you don't have depression, or one day you're going to wake up and you don't have migraines? And I would have that written down and hand it to the VA and say, you're appealing, you would basically be appealing this, or if this is over a year old, you'd be filing a new claim for this. But I think that's the way I would go for it. All right, so that was that one. All right. I think that was all the TDIU questions we had. So I guess overall, I would just say that if you look at the math that the VA does on putting together each one of your claims, putting together each one of your ratings, you will see that the closer you get to 100%, the harder it is to get 100%. So it's important to keep trying if you have claims that are related to service or a rating that should be higher. But if you get to a point where you can't work and you're 70% or over, you should also be applying for IU. It's not you have to take A or B. You can take them both at the same time, both routes. And so you just want to be applying for that because you look at, you got a 90% rating, like, oh wow, that's high, I'm happy. Well, what is the difference between 90% and 100%? It's like $1,200 or something. Yeah,
$1,200 a month, and so it's like $1,800 you're getting, but you could get almost. It's not 50%, but it's sure close.
Yeah. Let's see. So I think that's all we had on those. Carol, how much more time do you have?
Just have about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay. We are going to jump into some of the other questions now. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Here's one that I think is interesting. Backdoor TDIU. Tangi Dottie. If VA makes a mistake and awards you 100% due to bilateral factor, which is only about 0.4 out of 10%, can they drop you back to 90%? So I'm thinking that's 4 out of 10 versus 5 out of 10, so that your rating would have been 94% versus 95%, which rounds up.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they can drop you back. But if they drop you back, they have to send you a notice that they're proposing to reduce your rating, tell you why, and then you have so many days to respond. And then they will send you another one saying this is a final reduction. If you're at 90%, I'm a betting man. I'm going to bet that you're not working or you're not working full time, and you want to apply immediately for TDIU. You can fight them on this, but I'd also say, okay, well, if you don't consider me 100% straight up, then you got to consider me over here, and that way you can maintain your benefits.
Right.
All right. Let's see. These are the hard ones. Joseph Egonowitz, I apologize. I'm not good with names. I've been waiting for over a year and a half for a judgment for PTSD and a knee increase.
At what level? That would be my question. If you're at the regional office, something's really out of whack. If you're at the BVA, that's not abnormal. One thing that we can now go on and we can look at our veterans' cases most of the time online, but only until like the last month or so, I was not able to look at what was happening at the BVA. And one thing I was shocked at is I would not have asked for a hearing. And yet my case is being held up because they have noted a hearing. And that either happened when at the regional office, they certified the case and said we asked for a hearing, which we didn't, and they don't send us copies of that. Or when it got to the BVA, for some reason, they're putting hearing on there. That has been a real problem because these cases should have been decided. Instead, they're being held for a hearing that we didn't ask for and we didn't know that they are holding up for. So if your case is a year and a half old, and you didn't ask for a hearing, I would definitely write to them and say, I didn't ask for a hearing. Please decide my case as soon as possible, just in case that's happened to you.
Okay, we got a pretty please on this from Mr. Mo. After how many CMP exams will the VA determine to not have me do anymore? Would love to have this answered. So how's that?
Well, first of all, if you're permanent and total, then they're going to stop asking. But when you have 100% for something and they haven't made you permanent total. If you get a 10% for something, they're not likely to review you. But if you have a high rating, then they tend to review you to see if they can knock you down. So you're going to have to keep going until you get permanent and total on those issues. Now, sometimes the VA is supposed to do things like review and they don't, and then all of a sudden they'll get in trouble and you'll see a lot of reviews coming through. So just because you haven't been reviewed doesn't mean that they won't.
Okay. My husband has TBI symptoms, but was not diagnosed, stating that the scans are normal. Should we seek outside the VA to pursue? You can't answer the question for me.
Sorry.
Should we seek outside VA to pursue TBI? He was infantry scout for 9 years, had multiple IEDs, shot in Iraq. Okay, now you answer.
That's not a basis. Just because your scan is normal, that doesn't mean that you didn't have a TBI and that you don't have it. I would absolutely go to another doctor, someone who knows what they're doing.
A neuropsychologist.
A neurologist.
So yeah, don't stop there. I mean, what your husband went through.
And remember, if he is bad, you not only want to file for service connection for TBI, you want to file for SMC for TBI. If he needs aid and attendance, if he needs you to take care of him, don't forget, those are two separate claims. One gives you $3,100 approximately at 100%, and the other gives you $9,000 a month.
Quite a bit. All right. So for TBI SMCT claim,
which is what I was just talking about.
Can you combine 100% to file, or do you have to have 100% in a single disability? My understanding is you have to have IU or 100% for a disability, but that does not have to be TBI. But the TBI must require aid and attendance. Right.
It's that the TBI is service connected, and that TBI requires you to have aid and attendance. Someone helps you to remember to take your medicine, remember to go to your doctor's appointments, cook for you because maybe you leave the stove on and burn things up. That's aid and attendance, and that is what will give you the SMCT.
Okay. Ronald
Hi.
Said hi to you. Let's see. Cerebral one filed a claustrophobia June 2011, denied March 15th and March 2020. Filed higher level review in April 2020, granted SC April 26, 2021. I need a pen and paper here. Effective date, March 13th, 2020, date of CMP exam. Filed for correct date and rating, in your opinion? Yes, I agree as well.
That is what they constantly do. They try to cut your benefits as much as possible. So you want to get the evidence in that shows this was there before that. That one exam isn't when it started. It didn't start yesterday. So if you could get the evidence in that shows how long this has been going on, you should be able to get that farther back.
All right. How many more do you need? One more. Okay. Recently, Frank Nagy recently denied for new Caregiver Act 100% plus ANA. They say I need continuous help to qualify. Can you help? Thanks. Great change in the law or clarification of the law. Those can now be appealed. Before they could not. Now you can appeal them, and they are required under this new case to go back 10 years when it started and tell everybody that was denied they can now appeal it. So yes, appeal it. Okay. All right. You got to go. Well, thank you, Carol. All right. Great talking to you. She will be doing more of these, but I just thought it'd be nice for her to stop in. Generous of her. Okay, so let me go through some. We got over 20 minutes here at least, and I apologize for earlier in our audio problems. We got Remy 86. Can I get a sleep apnea for major depressive disorder? You can. It is difficult. Basically, you got to show that the major depressive disorder causes you to wake up or have panic attacks in the night. Definitely have to have an outside opinion. I'd love to find it, but I'm paranoid enough to think that there's some kind of memo going around internally in the VA health system where the treating doctors will not write a strong opinion for vets on this. So we had this before. Someone, and I forgot who it was, but someone recommended what looked like a very qualified doctor to look at these claims. And I think the guy was out of San Diego. But yes is the short answer. Okay, let me see some more here. Let's see, denied for deviated septum 05 due to 2 broken noses prior to the military, had nose broken twice while in the military with records indicating deviated septum. Isn't there clear aggravation? How do I challenge years later? Okay, so you need to get your service records. You need to get service medical records. File, I believe it's a S-180 is the form to the National Archives, so you can look it up. But in those records, the first thing you look at is your entrance exam. And what I look for is what I call a clean entrance exam, meaning that it might note prior problems, but it has to also note if those problems are problematic now, meaning I'll see a guy who played football in high school blow out his knee. They'll mark that, but he did total rehab on it and his knee's fine. And so the VA doctor, or the DOD doctor, I mean, will say that there's no current problem. Okay, so if that's the case, if there's no current problem, you have a clean sheet and you have what's called the presumption of soundness, meaning that the VA can't use a prior disability against you. Okay, they have to look at it and say, okay, well, was this caused by service or not? Very strong presumption. Can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's actually a statute, which is 38 USC. I think it's 1153. But just look up presumption of soundness, and it'll be there under the VA. The other is presumption of aggregation, which you're talking about here, meaning that the VA has to look and see if what happened in service took the level of the disability prior to service to a new level and a permanent level. If you have a deviated septum that you've had for 20 years, I'd call that a permanent level. So you're looking for them to implement the presumption of aggravation or the presumption of soundness, okay? If you look in your records and you find that they are clean, meaning that there's no doctor saying you have limitations due to this, then you can actually, once you win, hopefully, file a Q claim going all the way back then. I hardly ever file Q claims except on presumption of soundness, presumption of aggravation, and reduction to the other one. But so yes, you have a good claim there, and hopefully you can take that back farther. All right, let me zoom down a little bit to answer these. Okay, U.S. Navy Vet 39. Hey, hi Matt. New contention was added to my appeal at the BBA. Why was the contention added when it wasn't on the original claim? I don't know that. It could have been a conjunction. You know, 2 claims streams could have joined up, meaning that there's an SOC here and a NOD in the new system here, or there were 2 NODs. The other one is a little more nuanced in that the BBA sometimes will break something apart. Perfect example is the BBA often rates TBIs and PTSD together. You'll see it as one rating, and it makes absolutely no sense. But you'll look on there and you'll say, what's going on? Or there'll be diabetes and neuropathy, the tingling and the pain in the legs. You'll see those joined together at the regional office, but then the BBA, or they'll take them apart and say, okay, these are 2 different claims that need to be adjudicated differently. That's where I see those the most. Okay, Miss Grill Vev filed PTSD MST in December 20. Why was a CMP exam not yet requested? That's a good question. If this is a new claim, or if this is a claim where you filed new evidence, there should have been something put in there. I mean, we're talking 4 months. I would hope that within the next month you would see something. I would file a request or just a follow-up, say, hey, where is this? Just in case it got lost, which unfortunately it does sometimes. James Sellers, I am service-connected for hypertension. Can I claim stage 2 kidney disease as secondary to hypertension? Yes, you can. Hypertension is one of the worst diseases out there, not in and of itself, but because of what it does to the rest of your body. There are so many things that can be secondary, and that is one. All right. Let's see, we've got the Sarge, 1969. I'm 70% and found military records this week that would prove plus planus and BPH. I also have multiple things that I didn't know you could claim, like diabetes. Can you help? I'm assuming if you're in service in 69, you most likely were in Vietnam. If you have diabetes, you should file that right away. You do not need help. You do not need my help. You can get VSO to file that for you, but you don't need help in the sense that if you're in Vietnam and you have diabetes, they give it to you. There's no debate about that anymore. They have to. But the other things, you're going to need some outside evidence showing that you had that problem. Well, okay, so you've got evidence that you had a problem in service. You need to show continuity, meaning that it continued through your life. You can speak to that, but it's better to have you and one or two other friends, family to talk about that as well as how they see it being a problem. Beauty starts within. I am not a war veteran. I have been rated for PTSD, GAD, MDD, migraines, and received a nexus from my doctor for chronic fatigue syndrome. My chronic fatigue syndrome keeps getting denied. Any advice? So if you're in the Gulf War or the Gulf War theater, then that's automatic. For chronic fatigue syndrome, one thing you can try to do is see if you get your treating mental health doctor to show that that is secondary to your mental health disabilities. Otherwise, you're going to need a doc saying, you were exposed to something, or there's a loss, obviously some kind of energy reduction while you're in service, and that's how it goes. So that's without any more. You said I also filed primary, not secondary PTSD. They have to adjudicate both. When you file a claim, they have to look at all avenues for which they could grant it. I don't necessarily trust them to do that, so I would file for secondary too. And go from there. All right. And Rayburn, session is strictly for VA. Yep. Okay. Dwayne Jones, what qualifies you for PT? We did that one. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up to more of these. How do you think we'll be if I'm trying to get unemployability since 2020? Elma, I don't know. I would need more facts. AB, nice to see you back. I have a migraine, but it's at 0. Do I need secondary? Do I need a secondary or just file an increase? Is it hard to file an increase? I'm taking meds and the side effects is a headache. What do I do? Okay, file for increase. You don't have to file anything else, but that should send you to CMP exam. The big thing that you need to speak to the CMP examiner about is what happens after you have the migraine. Yeah, you're taking medicine. It doesn't sound like it completely cures it. But if it's bad enough to where you have to go lay down in a dark room or be around people and not hear sound, that should get you the next highest rating. And when I say that, I mean not every migraine, but maybe one every 30 days or one every 60 days. Okay, so that's how you get the next highest rating. It's not secondary to anything. You don't have to worry about being secondary to anything if you're already service connected for the disability. All right. Okay, we did that one. Mr. Mo, she looks younger than you. That's what you're supposed to say. Touche. I will tell Carol that next time, and she'll get one good kick out of that. Elma Wilder, will the BBA go back to 84 if noted in my records? Will they give me money all the way back? It depends if it was noted in your records back in 84. If they didn't review those records, which is extremely important in 84, then there is a possibility that you get unemployment all the way back. Hard case though. Even if they know that's right, again, I could be being paranoid, but that's a lot of money. And I've just seen the VA make the quick denial to see if you'll go away. So that could happen there. Patrick, if you have a hiatal hernia and H. pylori, can you get rated for GERD? The symptoms would have to be separate, meaning that the symptoms you have for one cannot overlap. That's called pyramiding. So they'd have to be distinct symptomatology. And if that's the case, then I believe you can. Okay, MC, rater had duty to assist on PTSD. Okay, I heard that one twice. TNG Dottie, I think we did this. Yeah. Bill M. I recently won a federal court decision where the BBA admitted making a mistake, taking away my disability rating for sleep apnea. It was sent back to the VA for action. What are the options for the VA to do? Mainly the options are what did the BBA, okay, so if you went to federal court, federal circuit, which is basically one step away from the Supreme Court, they will put in their remand, which means they're sending it back, an order for what the court below it, which is the Veterans Court, to do. Then the Veterans Court will put a remand to the board saying you have to do X, Y, and Z. So you need to look on those orders and see what the X, Y, and Z are, and then you need to keep the VA's feet to the fire and make sure it's actually done. Okay. Jose Figueroa just logged in. Is there a presumptive list of conditions for those of us who went to Desert Storm in 1991? Yes, we talked about this, I think, last week. 38 CFR 3.117, I believe, is the, I'll look this up so I don't give you one, but yes, there are several. The two main ones are chronic fatigue syndrome and IBS. But they also will say, sorry, let me look at this. So I think I got that wrong. So it's 38 CFR 3.317. So that's the reg you'd want to look at. And there's a host of other issues that could come up that are viral diseases. But those are the main two that have diagnoses. Now, if you're not diagnosed with something or you're improperly diagnosed with something, that could also be Gulf War syndrome. You'd want to read that regulation to see if you fit in there. Anthony Newell, do I have a chance of getting a rating for my exposure to chemicals? Anthony, I would like you to send me more on that because I want to know what chemicals and where you were and when you were, because we handle a lot of toxic cases and they hide a lot of that evidence, frankly. So if you can give me more information on that, I can get back to you. Angel Vasquez, why is my claims taking so long? Sir, if I had the answer to that, I think I'd make a lot of money. The VA just, I don't know. I don't have a kind thing to say about this, but they take a long time, and it makes no sense to me when they talk about the resources they have and they talk about how quickly they're processing claims. And then you're on the ground like you all and like me, and it just doesn't appear that way. Okay, let's see. Tim Dog, yes, being a Gulf War vet, any vet can submit a case for PTSD, but you were in a war zone, so you actually get a presumption of there could be a war zone getting presumption that it was due to being there. Folks not in a war zone do not get that. Wow. Charles, I have recently been scheduled for a 4th CMP exam since 2017. What's the problem for a psych exam? Psych examiners tend to mess up a lot. They could be looking to try to reduce you. I don't know what your rating is. So that's one reason why it's important to keep on going and getting your evaluations on a consistent basis from your treating doctors, just letting them know how you're feeling and what's going on in your life. But that can be a reason that I would be concerned they're trying to reduce you. So that's what I would say. It's that time, 100% PTSD, 40 TBI, 40 fibro, 30 for migraines, rate me at 100% P&T. They said I could do that. TDIU is moot. So that basically means that it's no longer an issue because you're already 100%. Can I file for TDIU? And if so, what's the benefit? Okay, so this is a little tricky. I would say you don't file because you're also at special monthly compensation S. Because if you have one disability that's 100% or TDIU, and you have other disabilities that combine to 60%, then you're entitled to a special monthly compensation rating of S, or what they call homebound is another way they look at it. And that's another $300 to $400 a month. So I would let that go on that one. 11 Super Life. I am rated 20% for a neck injury. For years, it hurt almost constantly. However, I was in a car accident that has made it worse. Should I go for an increase? Yes. Whatever happens in service is the VA owns. Okay, so if a neck injury happens in service, and say it's only a 10% rating, well, if you get to a point 20 years later and you get a car accident and it becomes significantly worse, then the VA has got to say, well, they got to explain why it was not due to that weak neck. You know, if you had a strong neck, a regular neck, would it have gotten hurt? Okay, so they own that unless they can go out of their way to show that no, well, it was not related to service, or it was not related to the underlying service-connected disability, and give some kind of reason. Okay, let's see. David, there, no, I attended a CMP exam. I had a throat condition claim, but in reality, I needed an esophagus DBQ and not an ear, nose, and throat DBQ. Can I add a contention and not lose my effective date? If there came, this is tricky. So basically, you have one disability you've applied for, and in the midst of applying for that disability, it's discovered that there's something else that you either want to apply for, or the VA notes, and it seems like it's related to service. If in that stream of the claim it's discovered and the VA knows it, then I would put in a contention saying this was discovered during the claims flow, and it should be service connected as well, and it should go back to the date of my original claim. They probably will deny it, but again, if you see the evidence and you see it was marked in the VA DBQ or the VA CMP exam, then yeah, I would file that. So yeah, so an easy one I see on this a lot is a fellow files for diabetes. They go to the exam. The examiner notes that he has tingling in his legs, neuropathy, and as a result, that should be in separate rating, but it should go back to the date that he asked for the diabetes itself. Okay, let's see, what are the other ones? Alejandro, paranoid, it's all true. I think the saying is you're not paranoid if it's all true, right? I mean, so if they are delaying just a delay, what I consider myself paranoid for, maybe it isn't true. Or maybe I'm not paranoid if that's true. KY, if one stops taking her hypertension meds, her blood pressure would go up. But if she takes the meds, her hypertension rating would be 0. So how does one get more than 0 for hypertension? That's hard. I mean, that's the rating on I thought it was 10% for meds, but if that's where you are, that is where you are. What I would look for are any other ailments you have, anything else going on with your body. And I would talk to your doc and say, hey doc, can hypertension cause numbness in my hands? Can it cause other problems in my heart? Can it cause, loss of energy? Can it cause kidney problems? That's where I would be looking on hypertension, because you're gonna max out 10%. I mean, somebody else at 30% is in a really bad way. But there are so many secondary service connection issues with that's where I would be looking. Okay, Tom Marine, that BVA, good to see you again, Tom. BVA stated that TBI by itself is not rateable, but the residuals are. Is that correct? I don't, they use this language sometimes, I don't know. If they're rating the problems that the TBI gives you, then that is okay. I see this a lot in Parkinson's cases, actually, where if you have a diagnosis of Parkinson's, that equals 30%. But if you have problems caused by Parkinson's, loss of use of your hands, inability to walk, loss of use of your tongue, then they will rate those and not give you the Parkinson's rating. That's one of those ones that's hard to say. I mean, if they're giving you, memory loss ratings, if they're giving you ratings for physical ailments you have, then that's probably true. The way they write these things are just so incomprehensible and just so hard to understand sometimes that it's super frustrating. Okay. R. Taylor, VA denied a supplemental claim effective date. VA reason is the supplemental claim is reopen only. My supplemental claims were continuous for the new evidence. Okay. Huge thing here, guys. I see this every day, and it is giving me gray hairs every day. The VA is supposed to go back to the first claim, and this is the new system that Mr. Taylor is talking about, in that in this new system, if you file a claim and you're denied, and you say, okay, I'm going to file another claim up here, meaning you're not reopening the claim, you're filing a claim with new evidence, a supplemental claim, okay? And you get granted, well, it should go all the way back to that first claim you filed, as long as it's within the appeal period window, which is in this case 60 days. Okay, they are doing this as the rule. What would happen to Mr. Taylor, not the exception. Okay, they are granting benefits the date of that second claim, even though that's not a claim. It's just saying I'm introducing new evidence in my claim file, okay? This is a way, go back to being paranoid, that VA saves a ton of money. They give you the benefits, but then they rip you off of 2-year retro benefits, okay? So if you win a claim, and you've been filing supplemental claims going back and forth, or a higher level review claim, and you win, you need to check the date of it, because it should go back to that first claim that you filed in that claim stream. Incredibly confusing how they do this. We have a diagram on our website where it kind of shows the different ways you can go and how it works, and this kind of explains it, but it's frustrating how they're coming around doing this. Juice. I have a CMP exam for increase of migraines. I sent a DBQ, and after submitting it, found out that it expired. Any advice? There's no expiration date. This isn't the FDA. They can't say that. That's crap. If it describes your disability, I enjoy doing this with you all because I see new things every day that kind of blow my mind. I've not seen that one before. It is not expired. Appeal that. That is, unless it was from 1980, maybe, I don't know, but I would appeal that. If they're saying the DBQ itself is no longer a DBQ used, hogwash, okay? If it still describes your symptoms and it describes how they affect you and it's signed off by a doctor, doesn't matter if they have a new form, okay? They need to look at that and need to determine if those symptoms are worth a higher rating or a service connection or whatever. Okay, Jean Blair, have you ever had a veteran that had everything on their STR has been redacted? I've had vets who were special ops where stuff like this happened. I've had vets where there was significant discussion of other service members had that happen. It's really hard. Like, I think in that case, you probably want to contact the DOD and ask for a clean copy. Can I use my GI Bill if I'm on TDIU? Yes. It gets tricky. If you graduate on time, the VA might look at you and say, hey, we think you can work. I would submit that getting a college degree at your own pace is not the same thing as working in an open competitive field where somebody's watching you and you have to maintain a certain pace. But yes. Ricky Bobby, I just received my results for PTSD about 2 days ago. It says deferred. What should I do? Unfortunately, you can't do a darn thing. Okay, deferred. It can be basically the VA says it's deferred, meaning they have to do more work. Could be a new CMP exam, could be pulling records, could be pulling service records. You have no idea, unfortunately. You should be getting a separate rating decision on that soon. You don't have to appeal. You don't have to submit anything because you're just waiting for them to make the decision. They have not made a decision, is basically what that says. Chipper Lee, have you heard of any cases against ADAK, Alaska contamination to vets? I have not. I'm assuming that's a base. I've read about significant contamination in a couple bases up there, but I haven't. We do a lot of contamination cases. It's kind of something we've been really trying to jump into because we just see that it's out there and nobody's doing anything about it. So if you have information, I'd love to look at it and see if something we can help you with, but I don't know just off the top of my head. Carla Weldon, am connected for hearing loss and tinnitus, suffer from headaches and anxiety, have only been to see by the VA. Is that enough to file? It is enough to file, because I assume you're saying it's secondary. Anxiety, there's a diagnosis called hyperacusis, which is a anxiety depression disorder secondary to hearing. Actually, it's secondary to tinnitus because the ringing in the ear drives the person away from other people. Obviously, depression can be secondary to hearing loss. If you can't hear people, you can't really be around people and feel like you can connect. There can be a significant depression there. So I would file that, and they should give you an exam. Okay, Meathead, y'all got some great names. Denied for sinusitis during service. I filed acute, went to CMP, X-ray showed bilateral chronic. Favorable findings. Do have chronic sinusitis. Should I refile? Yes, you should. You should put that information in there. R. Sony Sampani. Can I file for aid in attendance? I'm at 90% and I work from home, but I've asked my wife to stop work so she can manage my medication and do all the home chores as well as help personal grooming. You do have to be at 100% or unemployability for that. So you need to figure out, I would look at your work situation. You know, I know a lot of people can work from home right now, but my question would be, is your work even further sheltered in that you get to call your own hours, or they put you in a kind of a, how would you say that, put you in a role that hadn't existed before or would not exist after? That's what I would look for. Mike Estes, I broke my foot and twisted my ankle in service, currently rated for tendonitis of ankle, now diagnosed with flat feet out of service. Chance of getting flat feet secondary to ankle condition. I would go for it. I mean, you know, tendonitis and flat foot, frankly, they work off each other. As you know, tendonitis starts to pull, your foot can get flatter. So I would file it at least. I don't know. I haven't had one of those cases, so I don't know if you win, but that's what I look for. Jay, I missed your question. I apologize, Jay, but there's quite a few. If you could put your question, and again, I will get to it. Dwayne Jones, what evidence do you need for an ED claim? You need evidence that you can't obtain and maintain an erection. And then that is what's called a loss of use of an organ. So you probably get a 0% rating for that, and then a special monthly compensation K, which is about I think about $100, $150 a month. So that's kind of not in your. It doesn't go with your. How would you say that? It doesn't go with your combined ratings. Taylor, issues with being underrated in wrong code for I can never say this word, idiopathic hypersomnia. Can my DoD provider submit a DBQ with supporting evidence to support this claim? Of course, they are not going to have a rating for that. They are going to have what they call an analogous rating, meaning, okay, we don't have something in the diagnostic code specifically for this. I've never seen this in the rating code. But what they would do is they should say, okay, it should be rated under this code. Okay, so it might, if you look it up, it might be under a code that is not specifically what you're looking for there. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. Omar Castillo, they awarded me 10% for TBI. They also awarded me 50% for migraines. I have a CMP exam, TBI increase this Friday. Any advice? Should I mention to them with what I just told you? You need to again write down everything that's wrong with you, because a TBI, unfortunately, is a full body problem a lot of times. If you can get somebody else to go with you, that would be great. To speak to any memory problems or walking problems or anything to that nature. So that's what I would look for. All right. Okay, John Gold, I was diagnosed with dementia and I have service-connected TBI. Dementia is a presumptive condition for TBI. How do you file presumptive condition? How do you file presumptive condition? You just file it and you just say this is due to my TBI. It's a no. I'll say this with caution, but it's a no-brainer that they should just award it. If they screw that up, then you definitely need to appeal it, because that one, I mean, they've put that presumption there. Tiffany Battle on 80%, 70% is PTSD. They sent me paperwork for TDIU, but my employer hasn't filled it out yet. In case they do not fill it out, will that automatically deny me? No, they send it to them and they always want to see if you're working, when you last worked, how much you made, yada, yada. A lot of times employers just never send that in. So what it will do is delay your claim, but it won't, that cannot be a basis alone for them to deny your claim. It should not come into factor one way or the other. Always good to be able to have an employer say, we tried to have them work here, we really liked them, but they couldn't show up, or they just were too slow, stuff like that. Okay, let's see. Trin Bagon, I can't say that name, I'm sorry. My PSA started rising while I was still on active duty. I retired in 2007. My PSA continues to rise. And in 2017, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Can I file? Yes, you filed a service-connected claim there. get your blood work hopefully to them, show them that that was there then and it's there now. Okay, let's see. To 116, I got a claim back on my shoulder and it said it was going. What does that mean? It said it's ongoing. I don't know. I'd need more information on that. Marine HG 825. Hello, I have a 10% for radiculopathy for both legs. How do I get those increased because they've gotten worse? Okay, I think we put this in there. Yeah, there's, if you look below you, there's the Worms book. You need to go find radiculopathy and you see what that says. And you see what symptoms you meet. Okay, is it tingling? Is it numbness? Is it straight up pain? Is it inability to lift your foot? Okay, look for those symptoms, and then you need to tell the C&P doc, this is what I'm going through. If you're opening a claim, you need to say, write a letter saying, hey, this is my problems right now. This is why I should get an increase. Okay, Arthur, I was recently rated at 70% for PTSD. I'm 80% total with tinnitus and CAD. Can I file an IU claim? Yes. Alejandro, I don't get in a wreck in your car. Is that it's that time? Can I file for ANA? I'm 100% PTSD, 40 for TBI, 50 for sleep apnea, 40 for fibromyalgia. Holy moly, you got a lot going on. You can file for it, but you got to show that you need help of someone else. You need somebody to help you through your daily chores. Omar, let's try this again. You didn't read the first half of my question. Omar, I'm hoping this is the first half down here. 8 years ago, I received a VA decision letter. It read that I was declined for TBI due to failing to attend my C&P appointment. I never received a letter saying that I had such an appointment, but I did not. This is an incredibly hard claim, Omar. They have, the government has something what's called the presumption of regularity, meaning it is presumed that if the government says they did it, then they did it. Now, the VA had a scandal before Congress for a while saying that they were sending out letters when they were not. I do not know the dates of this, but if you can look back and see what dates they did that in, it's like a 3-year period. You can show, hey, I didn't get this. It was during this period. You should be able to reopen and hopefully go back all the way then. But if you don't have that, it's extremely hard. It's their presumption versus your word. The other way you could get around this is if you had moved, the VA knew you moved, and the address of the letter was to an old address or wrong address. You can, again, that would be a way to go back there. Omar, again, they awarded me 10% TBI. They also awarded me 50% for migraines. I have a C&P this Friday. Oh, sorry. Okay, I think I got that. Earlier, Timothy Wilborn, if I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder in service, how do we go about proving service connection? I'm sure others have in-service diagnosis. This was about 10 years ago. I'm just now finding that's one of their favorite things to, it used to be personality disorder that they would give people and they'd boot them out of service, Vietnam vets, vets all the way, frankly, through the 80s. And they'd say, oh, well, you know, this is your fault, get out of service and we're not going to give you any benefits. With an adjustment disorder, a lot of times they'll deny vets because they'll say, well, this is a short-term problem and you no longer have this problem. If you currently have a mental health diagnosis, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, you can file and say, look, they had said I had this other disorder back in service, but I've had problems all the way then, and at some point along the line, they gave me a permanent diagnosis. That's a claim you should win, okay? They might deny it, but you should win that claim because that's a new trick they've been using in the DoD. They don't want, the DoD doesn't want to have to pay you to leave the service based on a mental health exit exam. So I would file and I would appeal all the way to the board if you have to. We've handled quite a few of those cases in the last 5-10 years because that seems to be their new personality disorder way to get somebody out. And then for the VA to be able to say, hey, this is not a permanent disorder. I don't see a problem with this. So just something to watch out for. Let's see. The doctor. I was underrated for PTSD, received 50% instead of 70. If I ask for a higher level review, will jeopardize my 50 and risk even going any lower? There's always an opportunity. There's always a potential that they will reduce you. There's no way around that. I can't, I can't guarantee that. But if you feel like it's not as high as it should, I would send it in higher level review, and I would point out, if you can, point out specifically. Again, go to the ratings reg, and it's in here somewhere. I think it's 4.130, I think, but look through the hyperlink that's in here, and you can see it and see what you feel like you need in a 70 versus a 50. And then you just want to write a short letter saying, this is why I meet this, and this is why you should consider me for this. I would not let them underrate you on that. I see a lot of vets who come to us, and a lot of vets we represent who get a 50% rating, and this should be a 70. Because remember, if you're a 70, you can get unemployability the easy way if at some point you lose your job or you can't work anymore. But at a 50, you cannot. All right, I'm getting notice that I'm getting out of time here, so let me do a couple more. All right, Daryl Dog B. At CMP, they included TBI with my PTSD and have aid and attendance for 24 years. Will I get UDI if you're getting service connection for TBI and you're getting aid and attendance for it? Uh-oh. It says I've lost connection here. Hey, Ephraim, am I on? Oh, am I back? Apologize about that. Having internet issues. Daryl, so yes, you need to appeal, or you need to file a claim right now for TBI. The PTSD should be separate from the TBI. The fact that you're getting A&A for that, I think, shows that you need to get it filed for TBI, because that's the requirement. You have to have A&A for TBI. Okay. Combat Craig sneaks in here at the end. Justice orders what I was diagnosed with in service just before they gave me the boot. That's what they. I don't even know how to say it in a polite way, but that's what they've been doing. I've seen a lot. Floyd LHI sent me an email today to reschedule my CMP musculoskeletal for the second time due to the laws have changed. Now the CMP will be rated under both old and the new changes. Where's this? I don't see a question there. They can send you back as many times as you want, and it's frustrating as can be. I don't know if they're talking about new laws, old laws. I bet what happened was that company screwed it up, and the VA sent it back to them, said, no, this is not what we want, and it sounds like they did that twice. And Combat Craig here is talking about basically the difference between a 50% and a 70%, and it's a huge difference. And so you just want to look at that reg on mental health and see where you fall on that. All right. So Trim, this is a follow-up on the prostate. Since my diagnosis in 2017, I had my prostate removed by surgery, and I'm now cancer-free, but suffer from after effects. You would be rated on those effects. Typically, the effects are erectile dysfunction, the need, urinary frequency, constant urinary, not problems, but having to use the bathroom a lot, the need to wear pads, having to get up at night to use the bathroom a lot. Those are the symptoms they're going to look at, and that is where they're going to rate you on. All right, I will do these last two, even though I said only two. Jacques, shot through and through right gastroc, had less planus entry in service, diagnosis plantar fasciitis, pronated foot, weak calf, orthotics right foot, issued cane for aid, can or should do secondary. All the foot problems, I would, if you have one service connected, I would look to put all of them service connected together. If you're shot through and through, well, it looks like gastric. I don't think that's on your foot from what I'm seeing, but I would file whatever is not service connected. You file, say, hey, this is service connected or it's secondary to what is. Joshua Brown, if I'm diagnosed with a personality disorder, can I make a claim for depression or major depressive disorder, which I think I should have been diagnosed with? However, I was diagnosed with adjustment. So, Joshua, yes, simple question. Find your treating docs. You want to look at, they have these different axis 1, axis 2, axis 3, axis 4. Axis 1 is for a mental health disorder like depression. Axis 2 is for a personality disorder. You want to see if your treating docs have diagnosed you with a personality disorder. I find those hard to believe, or I seldom see where the VA actually got it right, where the person had a personality disorder. But the thing with those is you cannot be service connected for it. But the depression and the other issues, yes, you can. So you need to file for that, and you need to look at your treatment records to see, does this actually say that I have a personality disorder? Because the thing about a personality disorder is it does not go away. It does not get better, okay? So if it was diagnosed in service and then your current treating docs are treating you and they don't see it and they don't write it down, I think that was a bunch of baloney on what they said to you in service, and I think you just got to go from there. Okay, Ashley B. If I was rated lower, this is my last one, I promise, then my symptoms for mental health, should I file a supplemental or increase soon after getting the rating? Once you get the rating, if you were underrated, the gentleman before talked about filing for, I think, higher level review for being underrated from a 50% to a 70%. You want to file immediately for either the higher level review, notice of disagreement to the board, or if you have supplemental evidence that you want to put in, then put that in right away in a supplemental claim, okay? You want to do that because you want to get the earliest effective date possible. You want to make sure you get the most money you're entitled to, all right? So you want to keep that claim flow alive. Okay, thank y'all for coming today. I apologize about all the issues that I had, and I do appreciate you guys being patient with me. I will get Carol back on here soon. She's really the rock star of this firm, and she's got better memory than I do too. So that's great to have her on, and I might get her actually to sit down with Brian Hill, and hopefully they can have a conversation and just give you guys a different perspective. I mean, this is how I see it. You know, if any of you guys watch Combat Craig, he sees things a little bit differently than I do, and he gives you kind of a different angle to approach the same problem. And I think, frankly, if you're fighting, you need to see as many angles as possible, figure out what's going to help you get the benefits you deserve. Thank you so much, and I will be seeing you all soon.